the live visuals coming to you from Abu Dhabi in the UAE, soon after Prime Minister Modi's arrival in the UAE. Let's stay on these visuals for the moment. Just recap for the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in. Prime Minister Modi has landed in Abu Dhabi in the UAE on the second leg of his three-nation tour. These are the live visuals coming to you from Abu Dhabi, where Prime Minister Modi has just landed. All right, just to recap for the benefit of our viewers who might just be tuning in, Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India has landed in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, on the second leg of his three-nation West Asian tour. He has just completed his visit to Palestine and he has landed in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, where he's been given a ceremonial guard of honor. All right, so these are the live visuals coming to you from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, where Prime Minister Modi has landed and he is inspecting the Guard of Honor at Abu Dhabi. Remember, he landed at about 8 p.m. India time, and he'll be joining the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi in a bit, and followed by the signing of agreements in the same city. Right, so these are the latest visuals coming to you from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, where Prime Minister Modi landed just a short while ago and he is inspecting the Guard of Honor in his honor in Abu Dhabi, where he will soon be meeting for a one-on-one with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and followed by the signing of agreements and a banquet dinner hosted by the Crown Prince at about 10 p.m. India time or 8:30 p.m. local time. All right, joining me in the studio is Ambassador Arun Singh. Ambassador Singh, good to have you back on WION. Let's take this story forward, as it were. He has completed his visit to Palestine. We're looking forward to his engagements in Abu Dhabi and Dubai tomorrow. What do you make of his, this is his second visit in the last couple of years to UAE, and similarly the Crown Prince has visited India twice already. So what do you make of this new dynamic in the India-UAE relations?
So clearly the relationship between India and UAE is intensifying. When Prime Minister visited UAE in August 2015, it was the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister in more than 30 years.
Right.
And after that, you see the intensity of exchanges. In February 2016, the Crown Prince is here. In January 2017, he comes again, but as chief guest on our Republic Day, which is a very, very significant visit.
Right.
And early in 2018, the Prime Minister is visiting UAE. When the Prime Minister had gone there in August 2015, in the joint statement that was issued, it was mentioned, aside from other things, that the two countries are now starting on a comprehensive strategic partnership in a world which is seeing multiple transitions. And I think that captures the image, that the world is in flux, the West Asia region is in a flux. Given that the two countries recognize that now is the time for us to deepen our relationship and to see what more opportunity we can find to intensify our exchanges. UAE is important for us. We have almost 2.8 million people of Indian origin in the UAE. Given that there are about 8 million people in the Gulf, this is a significant number. They repatriate to India more than $13 billion annually out of $35 billion repatriation from the Gulf. Total trade with the Gulf is about $110 billion. Trade with the UAE is $49 billion. Again, very significant. UAE, which has surplus sovereign funds, is also looking at new investment opportunities, given that, especially under the new US president, there is talk of moving away from globalization, US looking more at its own interests. And UAE has notionally indicated that it is looking at investing $75 billion in India. And that would be important for us, for infrastructure, for Make in India, for manufacturing. And the two countries are discussing how to take that forward. UAE has also indicated that it will partner in setting up the strategic oil reserve in India and commit about $300 million to that. UAE has invested also in the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund in India. So there is a huge potential for economic and security partnership between the two countries, especially in the new global context, which is seeing a lot of flux. And therefore, I feel that UAE is certainly important for India. But India is also important for UAE as it is looking at new partners in the regional and global context.
Also, Ambassador Singh, talk us a bit, if you will, about energy security as far as the Arab and Gulf nations go, and also counter-terrorism intelligence sharing. How crucial would these relationships be from India's perspective?
So on both these aspects, the relationships are crucial. I think 50% of our oil imports, more than 60% of our LNG imports come from the Gulf. And therefore, security in that region, stability in that region is important for us. We are also looking at potential for investment in the Gulf. And I think it has been indicated that possibly during the visit of the Prime Minister, there would be a possibility of India taking a stake in some of the oil fields in UAE. So that would be a major investment in our own energy security. So from that perspective, it is certainly important. Also from the perspective of counterterrorism, because for a long time there was a sense that groups that were adversarial to India, were targeting India, were either using UAE as a transit point or a place where to locate themselves. But over the past few years, many of them have been apprehended, handed over to Indian authorities, and also the intelligence sharing between India and UAE authorities in the area of counterterrorism has increased significantly. And I think it is because countries in that region, including the UAE, are beginning to see the threat to themselves from terrorism, from radicalization, from violent extremism. So they are adopting a different approach. Many of those countries had been a little reticent earlier about deepening the relationship with India because they were also looking at India through the prism of Pakistan. But I think they have gone beyond that because they see the challenge to the region, stability in the region from violent extremism and terrorism. And given that, I think they are looking at India and the India relationship in itself. And as India has grown, they see more opportunity for partnership with India.
Ambassador Singh, you mentioned about Pakistan. Now, in that respect, given the fact that the UAE and Saudi Arabia, two countries recognize the Taliban government in Afghanistan for that matter, when it comes to radicalization, counter-radicalization of youth or young minds, is there scope for India and the UAE to collaborate going forward, especially given India's renewed emphasis on taking up this issue primarily?
No, I'm sure there is scope for collaboration in that because you referred to UAE and Saudi Arabia other than Pakistan being the only countries to have recognized the Taliban. Now that is pre-9/11, pre-2001. And the world has changed considerably since then. And you are seeing some of the efforts being made in Saudi Arabia to tackle radicalization. Therefore, countries in the Gulf themselves are seeing the challenge from radicalization and violent extremism and are trying to address it. Given that framework, I think there is a recognition that we can all learn from each other's experience and partner with each other to counter violent extremism.
Ambassador Singh, do hold your thought. We just want to talk to our viewers about the visuals coming to you from Abu Dhabi, where Prime Minister Modi was seated with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. And we'll get you more on that talks going forward. But we also have to have our correspondent, Nishita Virendra, joining us from Abu Dhabi. But coming back to Ambassador Singh, in terms of Prime Minister Modi's ongoing visit, now he goes to Oman from here. What do we expect from his Oman leg of the visit, especially given the fact that we have not devoted that much time to discussing about Oman in particular?
So, you know, Oman is one of those relationships that tends to be under the radar, but it is a very important relationship. We just mentioned that an Indian Prime Minister, for example, had not been to UAE for almost 30 years, more than 30 years, before Prime Minister Modi went in 2015. But if you look at Oman, every Prime Minister since Prime Minister Narasimha Rao has visited Oman. And I think that is because Oman is strategically important for us. It is on the Indian Ocean. It is among the countries in the Gulf with which we have had defense cooperation agreements. It is a country with which we do regular military exercises across all branches, the Air Force, the Navy and the Army. And we also carry out training programs for several of their security personnel. So given Oman's location and the fact that we have about 800,000 people there of Indian origin, the royal family in Oman has had deep connections with India. So given that we've had a well-established relationship with Oman, and Oman is also a member of the Indian Ocean Region Association. It is a member of the Arab League. In that context, it takes on importance. It is a member of the OIC. So all these aspects contribute to relevance of Oman, and we also look at Oman in terms of connectivity. There is the Ashgabat agreement that India joined recently, which is looking at Oman, Iran, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, and this is part of the connectivity that we are looking at through Iran to Afghanistan, to Central Asia, to Russia, to Eastern Europe. And at many years ago there used to be talk of a pipeline coming from Iran to Oman and then to India, but that was not found technically viable at that time. But again, very interestingly, although it is in the among the Gulf Arab countries, Oman has maintained an independence of its foreign policy vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia and UAE. And that has given it some flexibility. It has maintained good relations with Iran, although Saudi Arabia and others have difficult relations with Iran. And at a time when the first steps were made to establish contact between US and Iran to start negotiating the nuclear agreement between them, of which the Europeans and others were also a part, the first meeting was held in Oman. And it was sort of facilitated by the leadership of Oman. Therefore, Oman is located strategically and plays an important independent role in the Gulf. It has a very good relationship with India, partners with India in terms of defense cooperation. So given all that, a very, very important relationship. And not many people realize that there are 400 flights a week from Oman to India.
Right.
And there are 1,000 flights a week from UAE to India. So it shows the intensity of the exchanges happening.
Sure. Joining me live from Abu Dhabi is WION's very own Nishchita Virendra. Good evening, Nishchita. Prime Minister Modi has landed in Abu Dhabi. Talk us through his itinerary in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, if you will.
That's right, Ramesh. He has just landed a few minutes back and he is being given the ceremonial welcome at the presidential airport where he has landed, after which he will be given the guard of honor as well. He will then go to the presidential palace, which is extremely close by, and there a banquet has been hosted in his honor. But before that, there will be signing and exchanging of agreements that will take place. Also, discussion with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi also will take place, and after which they will go to the banquet dinner, and Prime Minister Modi will call it a day. But tomorrow is going to be the big day for Prime Minister as far as his UAE leg of the visit is concerned. It starts off with his visit to Wahat Al Karama Museum, which is a museum for the martyrs of UAE, for martyred soldiers, after which he will be heading to Dubai at around 9. He is expected to reach Dubai, the Opera House, where he will be interacting with CEOs and business heads, and also partaking in the groundbreaking ceremony of the first temple of Abu Dhabi. He will be taking part in the same through video conference, after which he will be heading to Oman, and he will be reaching Oman at around 6 in the evening, and he will be addressing a gathering of almost 25,000 Indians who are eagerly awaiting his visit.
Nishchita, I know that you've spoken to India's ambassador to UAE, Ambassador Suri. From India's perspective, what are we expecting out of this visit?
Well, first of all, it means that there is an obvious strengthening of ties, as it has been reiterated multiple times in the last few weeks, ever since the Ministry of External Affairs confirmed the Prime Minister's visit on this three-nation tour. It goes on to show that after 34 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to UAE in 2015, and now within 3 years, he's visiting the second time. And during that period, you had delegates from UAE also visiting India. Over 24 agreements had been signed in the previous visits. This time around, close to 12 to 14 agreements are being signed. Just earlier today, at the Indian Embassy, there were MOUs and agreements signed in connection to the agriculture as well as the education sector. So there is a broadening of horizon as far as the sectors through which there is mutual understanding going on between the two countries. It's not just a buyers and sellers relationship that UAE and India have anymore. It has gone into education, it has gone into security, it has gone into intelligence sharing, and now even agriculture and technology. So it goes on to show that both UAE and India mutually see each other as very crucial allies, very crucial companions. And as far as India goes, apart from the investment that we're eagerly looking for from UAE, at the same time UAE is located very strategically for us to maintain some sort of a clout in the Asian region. As far as UAE goes, they also see India is an ally to have by their side, and the fact that over several decades the people of both the countries have established a very close relationship. The Indian expat community in the UAE is the largest Indian expat community in the world, not just in the UAE. So it goes on to show the people-to-people relationship now transcending into government-to-government relationship, and this will benefit people not just in UAE, not just Indians in UAE, but will also benefit Indians back home in India.
And also, Nishrita, Abu Dhabi is set to get its first Hindu temple. Now, talk us a bit, if you will, about how the Indian diaspora is receiving this news.
Well, the Indian diaspora is very, very excited. In fact, I went to the location where the groundbreaking ceremony is set to take place. It is a 55,000 square meter property that has been given by the UAE government for the temple to be set up. And the Indian diaspora, a few of the people that I spoke to who were on location said that all these years, all these decades that they have lived in Abu Dhabi, they were scared to celebrate in their own way. They were scared to perform pujas in their own way, to perform their rituals, as they felt that it could offend the community here. And that is the reason why they feel that this step of the UAE government to give a prime property amounting to almost 13.6 acres in a prime location equidistant from Abu Dhabi and Dubai is symbolic of how accepting they have become. And this temple will not just be a temple complex, it will have a community center, it will have a library, it will have an area where all the festivals, all the Indian festivals can be celebrated in a grand manner, and they're expecting it to become a tourist spot of sorts where Indians from all across could come in and visit it. And it will be built in the Akshardham temple style. It will have the pink stones brought in all the way from Rajasthan in India for the construction. It will have as many deities as it can accommodate, right from Ram, Sita to Parvati to Shiv, and even Ayyappa God, who is celebrated down south, to ensure that anyone who believes in any deity can visit this temple. So certainly the Indian community here, particularly the Hindu community, in high spirits after it was confirmed that by 2020 they will have a magnificent temple right here in Abu Dhabi, and it will be the first temple here.
All right, Nishrita Virendra in Abu Dhabi, thank you so much for your inputs, and we'll keep coming back to you for more on this visit. Ambassador Singh, we're completely running out of time, but very quickly, your closing thoughts on what to expect from the UAE visit as well as the Oman visit.
So I think the UAE visit clearly is to consolidate the trend in the relationship over the past 3-4 years, and some agreements are expected to be signed, including dealing with cooperation in space, skill development, and I think it's a broader signal that the two countries feel that in a world that is in transition, we want to intensify relationships. So it's a signal to the region and beyond. And with Oman, I think it's consolidating a traditional relationship which has been deepened over the years through people-to-people interaction, communication links. We import a lot of fertilizers from Oman and from defense cooperation. And Oman finds reassurance and comfort in the relationship with India. For us, Oman is strategically located. So that's the aspects I would look at.
Ambassador Singh, thank you so much. It's been a long day for you, I know, but appreciate you making time to join us on this discussion. Thank you once again.